Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, I need approval of the consent agenda. And that consent agenda is the District Professional Development Plan for you, the 2025 Literacy Team Report, of which it was tracking on track, the ACA Reporting Agreement, which is an insurance agreement with a carrier that is slightly cheaper than our previous carrier was, 2025-2026 Assessment Plan, how we're going to be testing students, which is a requirement for us to file, and also the 2025-2026 copy of amendments to the budget that were contained in there as well.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Smith and seconded by Mrs. Staley. Are there any questions about it? Yes, Harry, you were louder, but she was first.
It's okay, we need to get her name in there.
All right. Anyway, have any questions about any of the information contained within? Jack, I'm sure you probably had a couple questions about the financials. Did you get those answered? Because I had a couple that I asked as well. So you're good? All right. All those in favor of the consent agenda as previously outlined, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Or need to recuse? Next, approval of the financials, September bills totaling $1,686,565.82, and the financial ledgers and reports to back those figures.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Shepard and seconded by Mr. Lenz. Is there any other discussion or questions or clarification? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining or recusing? Next, I need approval of the minutes from the September 9th, 2025 meeting and the October 3rd work session. There is one amendment to those notes, and that is that Mr. Lenz was not present. He is listed present on the top of the minutes from that meeting, but he was out of town and had notably let us know that he was going to be absent.
So moved that we accept them with the correction.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll and seconded by Mr. Shepard. All those in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving down to the adoption of the agenda for the remainder of the meeting, I have no additions or changes. All right.
Move we accept the agenda.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. We'll give that one to Mr. Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comments. Looking around, I see a lot of district staff in the room this evening. I'm sure that are all here to comment later on in the spotlights.
Yeah, Laura's talking today.
Yes, sir.
Since there's no public comments, can I use this minute for a couple shout outs?
Sure.
Okay, first one is I want to shout out to the FFA for their help at the rodeo. Those young people that came and helped us in the concession stands were just amazing, and I really did appreciate it. And then another shout out to the buildings and trades for pouring concrete on the cart paths out at Indian Foothills, doing a real nice job. They're nice and smooth, and they're doing a fine job out there. And then I wanted to do a shout out to the staff in reviewing the expense report this past month. The descriptions that they're putting on their charges and everything are really super.
So you can understand them.
They're doing a better job of that, and I want to make that shout out to the staff. That's really appreciated. Thank you.
Of course. And seeing no one moving up this way, we will cease the public comments at that point. And the spotlight, I'll let you all start moving up that way. SBS principals is what it says. So,
Are they all going to talk?
so both of them, yes, that will be yes. And they're looking for a PowerPoint, it looks like. here it goes.
Well, I'm Kim Albertson, principal at Spain Tower. This is Judy here, the assistant principal.
I'm gonna use the microphone.
The other one's broke, sorry.
On? Okay. Well, we just put together a short presentation for you guys just to kind of tell you how our year has started and how it's going. We have a lot of fun things ahead, but we thought we'd keep it brief and just kind of give you guys a recap of where we are. So this year we chose a theme called Learning is Sweet at SPS, and so it's kind of got a Candyland vibe that goes with it. Let's see, does clicker work, Mr. Wesley?
Power's on the side.
It is now. Okay, so this is our staff this year, and we would just like to give them a shout out for all of the hard work that they do each and every day with the kiddos and teamwork, supporting each other. And then you can kind of see we like to dress in unison, big themes at elementary buildings. So we've all got on our Candyland shirts.
So this was our first day of school, and to greet the students each year, we like to do chalk and bubbles. So that was out front with the buses, and then in the back we had the owl come and greet our kids, and we had chalk and bubbles as well, just to kind of make it inviting and let the kids know we're excited to see them for the year.
Yep, the parents, our line is usually a little slower that day. Parents like to take lots of photos, and we enjoy that. We want them to be able to do that. We also have High Five Fridays, and we try to do this every Friday, and it's been a really great experience for our kiddos. The high school kids often come over. We've had cheerleaders, we've had football players, and they come dressed in their uniforms and jerseys. Missouri Valley has partnered with us as well, and so they're just coming to give high fives and handshakes and kind of get our day started with a smile.
Okay, so each month we have our character education assembly. So we've had our September one, and then in that each month there is a group, it's either students or staff that demonstrate our character words. So for September it was cooperation. So you can see some of our staff there in the middle. They had played a game demonstrating cooperation, so that was fun for the kids to see. And then also at that assembly we honor our character kids that have been character kid throughout the month, and they get to walk through our tunnel. And then we also award a staff. So this year it's the king or queen of the castle. And that was our first staff member for the school year. So.
Okay, so this is just a picture. We like to put these on our Facebook post so parents can see it. But every week the teachers select a student who has displayed the character trait of the month in their classroom, and they get a certificate, and they get to come down with Mrs. Ming. And so it's just kind of a special way to honor them for doing their job and being respectful and showing what that character trait looks like.
Hey, one fun family event that we have done for the past few years at Spainhauer is Lunch on the Lawn. And we did have to change our location a little bit this year with the construction, and they were working on getting us some new grass across the road. But it worked out great, and we were able to have it right there on the lawn in front of Spainhauer. So we had 2 different days where half of the grades came on one day and half came on another day. And parents and family members and some siblings got to come and eat lunch, and so it was a great turnout this year, as it has been in the past.
What kind of numbers you get on that?
We have really great participation, and I actually haven't tracked data. Parents don't come in the building, so I don't have an exact number count, but almost every student has someone, and there's a few that don't. But what our teachers do is they bring their own blankets, and so if they don't have someone that comes in, they get to have a picnic with their friends, and it's still a special event for them too.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's been really great. And actually moving it, there was a lot of pros to that, so we might keep it in front of the building. It was much closer to like bathroom access and those kinds of things. We also celebrated Career Week, and so Mrs. Ming kind of collaborates with our building teachers, and we have a theme. So there's dress-up days each day of the week, and then this was one where it's what do I want to be when I grow up? So they get to kind of choose what career path they do. And then in collaboration with that, we had some careers come in. So you can see Mr. Kursick from the fire department. We have some nurses that came in. And it was fun to partner the kids that want to do that career with those people and just be able for them to talk. And then second graders, as part of this event as well, we invited parents to come in and just speak about different trades or their work that they are doing. And the kids get so excited, they all want their parent to be the one that's chosen. So that is fun, and it carries over into our first grade as well. And so we call that Community Helper Day. And then we've got people from like our National Guard and our utilities, the bank, the ambulance, they all come out and the students rotate through each rotation, and they truly get to see hands-on some of the equipment and what that looks like. So it's a great community partnership, and we're super appreciative of all the adults in the community that take time out of their working day to come and put this on for our kids.
Okay, and we do have a lot of fun at Spainhauer, but we also learn a lot. The teachers work very hard, and so do our students. So we just have a few pictures of the kids and the teachers doing their thing. So I think we have, there might be one more slide of that. So just a few of our different classrooms and the activities that they're doing in there. So all of our staff and students work very hard every single day. So we like to reward them with the fun things that we get to do as well.
And then we just kind of put this on there. This has been a big focus point too. This is just a snapshot of our iReady ELA data. And so at the beginning of the year, we spend a lot of time assessing. We try to get base level data. Our teachers work with students individually, and then they do these group assessments on the computer so we know where we are starting, and then we use that to kind of guide our instruction as we go throughout the year, targeting those areas that need a little bit more support. So I know that's kind of hard to see. It's just kind of a green, yellow, red showing the number of students who are starting on grade level for where they are is in green. Yellow would show that they have basically a year worth where they're behind or need to improve, and then that red you're looking at is going to be about 2 grade levels behind. But keep in mind, this is the beginning of the year photo, or the beginning of the year snapshot, so we don't expect everyone to be exactly on grade level when we start. That's our job throughout the year. So
It looks like the red, is that about 25%? Kind of across
it's
the board?
29 at the top,
29
and that's
on
the
top.
overall placement, and this was the ELA data. So yeah, 29% of our students. So we'll be working hard with small group instruction and our OWL time, and then just our Tier 1 instruction that they're working on every day, and hopefully we'll make some good progress, and I'll have better data to share at the end of the year.
I know first quarter you'll also have kind of that learner loss over the summer a little bit that you have to combat as well. So I'm
Yes.
sure it'll have a different swing at the end of the year.
We hope so. That's our goal.
I
And
told them those are based on like their grade level standards that they're supposed to master towards the end of the year, so you expect to kind of see that a little bit. So we do have about 12% of students who are already meeting those and exceeding those for the grade level. So
right, yeah, when they
we
come
get them
in.
the first few weeks of school.
Yes, it's about the first week of September we try to collect this data. So we've got lots of time ahead of us, but like I said, we've got some students who are there and some who are getting close, and we hope to make progress with all of them.
And you said that was just ELA?
This is just ELA. Yeah, we just pulled one snapshot for you guys. So, yeah. Any questions you guys have for us?
We should do a Friday school board high five thing.
Yeah.
Have buds?
Matt said it, you send us an
welcome to
email, we'll get some people out there.
Okay.
We can start recruiting early so that, down the road.
Give us a date to put on the calendar. I was going to say, Jack, I know I like to come out and read, and I know that Jack's been out there to do some stuff as well, so.
Yep, and
yeah,
we'll have
we're big for
opportunities.
donut days, just give us a call.
Donut Day's perfect. Sounds
Goes with
great.
the sweets.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you all. Moving down to reports. We will start with the longest report that we have of the evening, Ms. Laura Jacoby, most informative.
I didn't put him up for
Apparently, she
that.
has bought some backup. I saw a great picture of you all presenting at a conference recently. Ms. Harvey, thank you for going that day. I saw you were labeled as Mrs. Wise, so even in the picture, so you must have stood in that day and they didn't get you changed on the caption, but thanks for doing it. Well, congratulations. Welcome to the club.
Thank you all for tonight. What's ironic about that, you were joking, is when I said I wanted to do this literacy presentation, you guys can hear me okay?
Nope.
You might need to talk just.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
What's funny is when I was putting this together, I said, man, I could talk for 15 hours about this. And somebody said, you could really talk for 15 hours about this? And I started thinking, yeah, all the work for the last 5 years we've done easily. So we're going to do a very quick, and I promise quick, just snapshot for you on what we've been doing with literacy over the last several years, specifically what our literacy team is going to be doing moving forward. As you can see up on the slide, but Wesley, I think you've got me at maybe at the end of it. This is our CSIP goal number 5, which is it's a lot of things. It's a plan to address student achievement. We dive into a lot of different areas and we look at a lot of different content areas. We're going to be diving into math specifically more this year too, with some of the new math items that we're working with. But today we're going to talk to you about literacy. So there's always a reason behind and a why behind everything we do. And that all goes back to our CSIP and our building improvement plans. So we're going to talk to you all tonight. I did ask some of our instructional coaches to be here. This is Miss Callie Dobbin. She's at the high school. You probably know her. Carrie Harvey and Gina Wise. They do so much around the district, and truly we could not do what we need to do without them. They are just critical. So a lot of this work that we've done has been a lot of their blood, sweat, and tears too, not just mine, not just the teachers or the administrators. So it's a team process. So I did ask that they would come and speak on some certain areas tonight, and I just wanted them to get in front of you and just know all the great work that they do. And they're just crucial to our district, and I can't say enough great things about them. So the next slide is what is a literacy team. So basically, it's a group of, let me get to the next one, maybe, if this thing's on. Oh, yes. It is on, I think. Oh, there it is. I don't know, it wasn't going. We basically look at our assets and needs. So what are we doing really well as a district, and what is a need? And we look at data, we sit down and gather that data, and then we say, okay, what eventually needs to be turned into an action step? What do we need to look at? What do we need to develop? What professional development do we need to do? So that's what we're going to be talking a little bit more about today. And so on the next slide is going to be who is on the team and what does that comprise of. So I didn't put names because those can change, but it's everyone from title teachers to administrators to instructional coaches. We have teachers from each content area, special education. We have a community representation that comes and will meet with us. She came last summer when we did some ELA review and we were looking through our resources. And that's, we like to have that from the college because we do get a lot of students and student teachers from there, so that community relationship. And then we're going to have board representation coming from us. Thank you for agreeing to do that. I asked Mr. Pettit because I really wanted to make sure we had that connection with the board too, so you all knew what we were working on for literacy as a district. Okay, so this is our timeline. So this is when I said I could talk for 15 hours. I probably could, and I could go on and on and on, because one little item on here, just from the years, notice I started in 2021. We did try to do some literacy teamwork pre-COVID, and then COVID hit. It kind of got off the ground, it kind of got going, and then COVID happened, and it just was surviving through those years. So a lot of those items on there, so when we go through, the evaluate data and changing our universal screening system, I mean, that was a whole year worth of looking through data, exploring systems, seeing what is best. And so I'm going to have some of the ladies tonight speak on some of those items specifically. But you can see in 2021, we really started to hit a lot of this hard. I know that Mr. Jakes just talked about that, we'll get into that in a little bit, that we were asked to present at the state level. We were, and that was really awesome. And then we were asked to be on a summer panel because Marshall is ahead of the game in what we're doing. And truly, I'm not just telling you that. We go to these, we are ahead of the game, and it's really, really nice to hear and see, and it makes my heart really happy that other people recognize that. We started in 2021, we changed our universal screening system. We used to use DORA, if you were originally here through the DORA years, or some of you lived through it. We really knew that wasn't meeting our needs. It didn't have national norms, it didn't have a lot of those required items. We actually changed that system 2 years before the state then required districts in Missouri to change. And we were ahead of the game. And iReady is one of the 3 approved reading assessments in the state of Missouri. So we felt very blessed. We got ahead of the game. We were off and going, and we already had our procedures and processes in place and the literacy task and things that come along with that. So that was just one little item, but that took, I mean, my goodness, so many meetings just to say, okay, what, you know, so there's a lot of things that went into that. I'm going to let you all talk about the instructional tiers that we did in our ELA framework and some of that. Does anybody want to speak to that?
So speaking of doing things ahead of time, we also had Mrs. Alberson, who had been studying some things on literacy and what we were noticing of making the shift from balanced literacy to the structured literacy approach. And then Laura graciously was on board with us, and she's been nose deep into learning all the ins and outs, and she'll tell you that as a math teacher. I think she can rattle off everything literacy. So we started working, so Carrie and I started looking at the instructional tiers and thinking about what can we do to improve. One of the first things that we noticed is we need to look at our Tier 1 instruction, look at the resources that we had. We have a curriculum, but what are those resources and how are we allocating them? And is everybody doing it the same way? So in order to analyze that data, that was a big stepping stone for us. So once again, we were doing these things ahead of time. Myself and 4 other teachers started the letters training long before it became a state initiative for us. So we brought that knowledge back. We met with our admin and said, I think this is the way we're supposed to be going. We're looking at DESE. We're always on those DESE calls and wanting to be ahead of the game in that area. But we had to look at our instructional tiers. So we wanted to make sure that we were aligned, not only just K-5, and then Mrs. Gass was the instructional coach at the middle school at the time, so we were trying to align it all the way up to grade 8. And so that was a big part of where we were, looking at our instructional tiers, looking at our resources that we were using, looking at our data, and then also we did a lot of collaboration with our RPDC literacy consultant. So Sonia Mans has been a big person for us, and she's always there. I have her text. She'll text me right back. She emails. She will be on the phone with us. So we've had a lot of other collaboration along with DESE. We happen to know the DESE people. I feel like we have Olivia that we always talk to, and it's the same thing that they'll email us back. And so once again, like Laura had mentioned, it feels good to actually be known in Missouri as doing things the way that they're wanting us to do things. Do we have some growth to make? Absolutely. But we're in it.
Yeah, you hit on most everything. It's okay. The only thing I wrote down is working on the framework. We did work with the RPDC several times, the Central RPDC, and they helped us ensure that all of our assessments and all of our instruction was meeting all the state requirements. So we're good to go there.
And then we're going to get into your all here in a minute. But then we got into the summer committee and we started really choosing those resources. We went through that for a whole summer. We had a community representation come in, a colleague that is a parent of a student in the district as well as works at Missouri Valley College and worked with us. And so it's just been a lot of work. And then came reading success plans. So part of one of the things that you all in our assessment program evaluation is our reading success plans and that guidance and our policy within that. And students we have a plan for success for them. So it's been a journey. We have also implemented at our secondary, and we've been implementing the Missouri Writing Project, so for our middle school. And our middle school could not be here tonight. She had a soccer game, so she apologized she couldn't be here, but the Missouri Writing for the middle school and then the high school. And then if you kind of go over and you look into the next years, we started working on the step 1 process, and that was really neat because when the state put it out, we were like, oh, we're already there. We already did that. So we were good, and we were in a great place. But just as you kind of look through there, just continuous meetings, I'm going to let Callie talk a little bit about the Aspire training because we have our middle school and our high school going through Aspire, and Ms. Dobbins is going through that. And so as everything takes time, we start working our way from the bottom, and we start working our way up now. And we're getting into some more of those instructional tiers in the secondary and what that looks like. And so I'm going to have her speak a little bit to that because she and I and Mrs. Heisel just came from a secondary training at, that was last week or Thursday, and it was pretty clear from some of that we were ahead of the game and jumping on some of this. And then they handed me the room full of people, the microphone, and was like, hey, why don't you guys tell this group of people what you're doing? And I was like, oh, okay, kind of put us on the spot. But it's so awesome, and it's just really makes your heart really happy to know that and hear that. And then other districts hear it and they're like, wow, that's really great. So I want her to talk a little bit about that Aspire training that the secondary is working on.
Fabulous, good evening. At the secondary level, most of our teachers are not reading specialists. And so the shift that's coming up with us that we knew was coming and we were prepared for is being embraced though. We all know that there are deficits in our students' learning, and so we are meeting that challenge. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through the Aspire training. That is similar to letters, only it is specifically for secondary grades 6 through 12. And so this year at the high school, we have 3 individuals that are going through it, myself and 2 of our ELA teachers, and we will branch out. We were trying to get Kayla Gorel in social studies and a math teacher, but they were finishing their master's degree and writing their thesis and defending it this semester and didn't have time for that additional work that was going to be required. So not only are we going to train our ELA, and that's also at Beaker Middle School, it's the same. There's 6 there. It's not just our ELA teachers. We are going to focus comprehensively across all of our content areas. Whether that's math, whether it is fine arts or practical arts, we're going to be getting teachers who are Aspire trained, because reading is not a silo that happens in ELA. It is within all of our content areas, and every teacher can be a reading teacher. And so I was working on it today after school, stayed after. There's 36 modules that we have to go through that have bridge to practices that we have to go into classroom and show our competency within as well. So it's fun to hear the conversations that are coming our way as we move and shift and bring what's been done and successful at the lower levels up into the secondary level as well.
And like I said, that's all, it's all for the secondary and with that secondary mindset. So we're going to be going through that and training teachers throughout the next few years, just like we have our cohorts going through with our letters training. And so then you can see for 24 through really this year, 25, 26, we're going to be going through the comprehensive literacy needs assessment, and I'll show you what that really is on the next several slides. We've already got our date set for the year. We've already had 2, 3 meetings kind of with our core team. We'll get together in December, and we're going to go through with the large literacy team what we have found. This is what the data says. Here's what we have found as an asset for our district. Here's what a need is, and then we start hitting the action steps. Okay. Here's what it is, here's what we need to do, here's how we need to evaluate it, and then know if we're successful within this. And so those are our dates up to February, and then we will have an end of the year one as well. So, okay, this is from a conference back in, it was in January. Gina was becoming a grandma, granny, I guess Mimi. And Gina was supposed to be there with us, and Carrie rocked it out, and she came and went with Mrs. Alberson and I, and we were actually asked to present at a state conference. They put out proposals, and a lot of people don't get picked, and we were actually asked to please present at this. So that was amazing. We felt very blessed that we were asked, and so we had a room full of people, and then we were having people come up to us afterwards, and they were like, we need your help and we need your information. And it was just, and we had a lot of literacy and consultants in the room that are hired with the RPDC and DESE that go in and work with districts, and they're like, hey, we would like to talk to you, we need your help. And so that was really just a really cool experience, and getting Marshall's name out there. And then on the next slide, I'm going to let Gina, she was really really got a really cool opportunity this summer and was able to go, and I'm going to let her speak to that.
Okay, thank you. So backing up just a moment, we had Stuart from DESE. He came and observed our OWL time at SPS, and so he thought there were so many great things, and he was one of the people who was like, you guys need to put a proposal in, and so it was kind of nice to have that connection. But then also, Olivia from DESE, she had reached out to me, having heard such great things that from other districts at this conference. And so I feel like we know Olivia because she's on our DESE call every Thursday. But she had asked if I would be willing to come and share what our implementation plans were, along with a couple other, there was another instructional coach and 2 other principals that were a part of it. And so we just kind of shared our story about what it looked like for us. And everyone had their own different starting point. But for us, I let them know that we wanted to start small, and so we started with Altime. Altime was not new. It was implemented as from legislation back in 2017, but as a district, we had already been implementing this RTI process. But during this time, we made a shift in how it was looking. So our big thing was making sure that it was explicit, and we had kids working with teachers in small groups based on their needs. So that was a big part of what we were working on, and so that's what I shared with everyone else as our story for Marshall.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that, Stuart. I serve on the MSIP 6 State Advisory Board, which is a really cool experience, and I am on that board with him, and he came and he was like, this is awesome, please. You guys have got to get this out here and help some of these other districts. So, and sometimes you don't know, you're just in your own little world, and you're like, oh, we didn't know other people weren't doing this. Okay, sure, we can do that. So, and then on the next slide, this, down here at the bottom, you'll get to hear me in December and January for more data and APR. That's the really long one. But if you see this one on track, this is our ELA growth measures. This is from the Missouri DESE DBT portal, which is basically how we're tracking growth. If you look over here, on this right side, this blue right here, let me see if this thing, I don't know, it doesn't like me tonight for some reason. It's not turning on. Miss Alberson broke it. No.
Are we seeing the darker blue?
But right here, this dark blue is exceeding growth. This is what the state metric says. They've got this metric in, yeah, thanks, Wesley. And basically it's Mizzou, they partner with Mizzou, and they put this metric in, statistical measure for where you should be and how much you should be growing. And so in this part right here, it's exceeding. If you can see in these grade levels, now we can't do it up past 8th grade. They do have the English 2 data because it's not the same cohort of kids each year. So you're gonna take the English 2 EOC, but you're not gonna take it next year. So they track that growth data within our 3 through 8. But if you see here, we are actually exceeding in these grade levels, almost exceeding what the growth is that they are projecting that we should be doing. So we thought that was really awesome to share. Now, sometimes things can flatline out, and that's where we have to say, okay, what do we need to do to keep growing? What is our needs? What is our assets? And that's kind of what we're kind of working through this year. So this is our comprehensive literacy needs. These are the domains. These are all the areas that we meet and go through. So we went through, was it 2 weeks ago, we went through just the first 2 domains together, and it took, I think it was about almost 3 hours, and then we said, okay, let's take a brain break. Let's come back to this because it's a process, and truly looking at, how are we doing here? This is just one tiny snippet of us looking through our curriculum to make sure that, okay, are we hitting that? Are we doing what we need to be doing there? Is this to the level of proficiency that we need it to be? Is this aligned with? And so this is what we're going through. This is another example here. I just kind of wanted you to get a visual when I say we're going through a needs assessment. When we're looking through data, we have this organized process that we're working through. And this is what in December we will report with the large team and get some of their feedback on. So that was a 10,000-foot view of what we have kind of been doing with literacy the last several years around the district. It's been a lot of great work, but we know that we can always do better in different areas, and that's what we're continuing to work through. So do you have any questions for any of this?
That's a nice report.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight. I might have went over 5 minutes, sorry.
Oh, you definitely went over 5 minutes.
But we appreciated all those minutes, though.
But you had a lot of great things to say.
I may tease you about always having the longest reports, but they're the most informative as well, so we appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Dobbins, Ms. Harvey, Ms. Wise as well. Well as Ms. Alberson, Ms. Greitz as well for coming to us tonight. The next report will be from our Deputy Superintendent. I would hate to have to follow that, but we'll give you a chance, Nate. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. I also want to thank our Mr. Jacoby, our instructional coaches. They do work very hard, and when the people at DESE, people in the state notice, I mean, they are top notch in the state. So that's something for Marshall to be proud of, and they're doing an awesome job for our kids and our administration and our teachers. So thank you all for that. So Okay. So tonight, I've got three major things to kind of talk about, and I do have this. This is it is on the agenda as the first reading, first discussion. I like to put it on there, I think, because we can tie it back to the CSIP when we talk about some of these things. So, and I'll also be in the first reading. At the end of my presentation, I'm going to tell you we're probably going to come back next month, so you guys have a good idea of what we're talking about, and then for some approval. But nothing to vote on this month. This is just some information, kind of where we're at. So one of the great things that we got going on, of course, we just built a new building, did a lot of updates in Spainhauer, got a couple things to do this summer on Spainhauer bathrooms. One of the updates, the high school, of course, over the last few years have had some updates. But one of the main things that we need to start talking about as a district is Beaker Middle School. And really decide what direction we're going to go with Beaker Middle School. And we're going to have to do something, regardless of what direction we go with Beaker, there's going to have to be some fixes, moving forward here fairly soon to keep that building, try to get it back updated. It's 100+ years old. And so it's starting to show that, and we need to put some money and some work into it. Okay, so some of the things just on the surface, and these are just on the surface to be addressed, that we really need to start looking at is, number one, the roof we need to look at. We need to look at some secure vestibules, ADA accessible, our HVAC, ceiling tiles, some of the lockers, which doesn't seem like a big thing, but when the lockers cover most of your hallways, it's something that has to be considered. And of course, the parking lot in Effie Alley. That's going to start needing attention. And when we look at some of these things at Beaker, and I'm going to kind of explain this here in a little bit, what I'm going to propose is because we can go through a lot of these things, and I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, well, we just did the roof 5-6 years ago. We just updated the HVAC. We just did this. And that is very true, and a lot of those things has happened. But it's kind of how what we're going to get to is how the whole building works together, what we need to start looking at, because every aspect of that building, from electricity to airflow to the HVAC, it all works together. And just because we're putting one piece or this piece or this piece in there doesn't mean we're actually getting everything fixed that needs to be fixed. So I'll kind of hit that here in a little bit. But number one, the roof is probably the most immediate need at Beaker. It does have some leaks. I think there has been some work done on it in the last, I don't exactly know when the last time was, but some of the different surfaces do have different TPO on it. But the main roof has not, and then of course there's some transitions on that roof that are really starting to leak bad. So you can see here in one of our hallways, that's a garbage can down there because that leaks so bad every time it rains, so we catch the water that way until we get it all fixed up. I did go out and I did just some roof bids just so we had an idea. I'm not bringing these for acceptance tonight or anything. But some of these roof bids, they came between $184,000 or $185,000, and they varied all the way up to $353,000. And the more research I did on the different systems, it's like, okay, so you can do the cheaper one, and they call it the bucket roof, where they're going to go up there, lay something down, there's 5-gallon buckets all over, they roll it out. To a complete pretty much overlay, is the most expensive. But so it's kind of depend on what we want to do with the different warranties. So it can vary, by company, by brand, and by price. So this is just kind of an example of what it's going to cost when we get into the Beaker roof. Secure vestibule, I think this is a major thing we need to consider at Beaker. Especially right there, as you can see, that's the front office. You walk through the 2 double doors, but it really doesn't have a secure vestibule before you get to the office. I really think that is, especially out of some of our safety and security money that we have left over, which I'll talk about in a second, we consider putting a secure vestibule in that hallway for the safety of our students and teachers. ADA accessibility, put the gym, we transferred a lot of the sporting events over to MIS now, but you can see the stairs, and Beaker is very hard for somebody in a wheelchair to get into. And, again, don't know what direction we're going with that building, but there's something that's going to have to be something considered. Right now, if I was in a wheelchair and going to go to Beaker to even talk to the principal or anything else, I would have to go to the back of the building through there, through that little ramp, go get on the elevator and get up. It's not very convenient. It's just not very convenient. So it's something that really needs to be addressed for that building in the future. HVAC ventilation, yeah, it's been interesting at Beaker with that. So we did, I think 5 years ago, installed a new chiller boiler system. Again, things working together with that. It's working. We're having some issues with it, but then you talk about a lot of like our just little vents, RTUs, piping. That is a chiller system that water goes through the building to cool. Sometimes it just does not work as most efficient as we could.
I'm assuming, probably saying out loud, but we replaced the chillers and the boilers, but the pipe work and duct work that conveys all that material probably is still
100 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Lockers, like I said, not that big of a deal. It doesn't seem that big of a deal, but they are very, they cost, but they are in much need of repair or getting new lockers. Probably we're to the point of putting new lockers in Beaker, if that's the direction we're going to go. Just the metal it's falling out, and we need to get some work done with that for our kids and teachers in that building. The parking lot, we definitely need to look at that. Effie Alley, it's we have that where the old funeral home was torn down. We need to look at that. We need to figure out what we're going to do with that space, and if we need to get asphalt. This is actually on Vest Street. That the first picture there, that needs to be addressed also. The curbing's coming up, so we need to do a lot of some concrete work around there and asphalt work. Ceiling tiles. Ceiling tiles don't seem like that big of a thing, but they're in rough shape at Beaker. If you go up to the third floor, or even through the athletic entrance, definitely need to figure out what we want to do with some of the ceilings. We did not. This was one of the buildings with our Navitas, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. We did not update. It was one of the things that got redlined, but now we're back to, okay, now what are we going to do? So some other addresses, the bleachers, we did this summer on the bleachers because we knew we weren't going to be using it as much as the MIS building for athletic events, and some of the bleacher seats were in really rough shape, so we took some of the bleachers, swapped them out to at least make some good sets to sit on, so they were safe. That door right there, that goes down to the tunnels, and then when we talked about it, Mr. Jakes, you were exactly right. Everything down there is 100 years old. The piping, we're going to have to start addressing some of the piping in the water stuff down there. We do have a few leaks, and our maintenance guys do a great job patching it back together. But it's going to have to be addressed one way or the other. Windows in the gym, we got a couple broken ones. We're going to have to get all that kind of replaced and fixed. Just some different leaks, and so it's a good old building. It's an awesome old building. We just got to figure out as a board and community what we want to do with it, because we got some issues and we're going to have to get them fixed. So one of the things that I'm going to propose next month, and when I talked about this, and I kind of said, all these functions work together. Like we can spend another $300,000 on a roof, or we can spend another, whatever on HVAC. But I think we really need somebody to come in, and this is what I'm going to recommend next month, is to come in and help do a full facility assessment on Beaker and how everything works together. The there's a company that I've been talking to. They work with schools, educational thing. It's called DeNovo Construction, and that is what their specialty is they come in to a specific building, look at it, do a full facility assessment, work with the school, develop a 5-year plan, say, okay, if you want to get this up to where we need to be, this is what I'm going to recommend, money each year, this is the steps, and that's kind of what they help with. So they cost about $8,500 to do that for a 5-year facility assessment plan. Come in and look at all that. I think that's money well spent to make sure when we're looking at Beaker, we have all the facts and we know what direction we're going to go and where the money's best spent in that building. So if you have any questions on that, we can talk about that later, but I think that's where we're at with that building. And there's going to be a lot of different opinions, what we should do, where we should do it, but let's just get a good plan and then we can kind of discuss it from there. So that's number 1. Okay, number 2, little Navitas energy update. Of course, we started this with our, when we passed the levy, and we're able to do some facility updates through our, through Navitas, which is, what it's called an ESCO, an energy company. So we did pretty well. We got a lot of things updated, and we still have about $120,000 in contingency money left, which means we came in $120,000 lower than what we were expecting. So that's a good thing. So we have that money there, needs to be spent on facilities. And so what's the next thing that we're looking at? Well, we need to look at the high school in some of our HVAC units there. So one of the problems we've been having, and probably the next thing that was on the list and that we did not go to, is the high school gym. Okay, we have, and I have a picture here I'll bring up, but well, there's 9 units. There's 4 units on top of the high school gym, and then there is 2 units on the auxiliary gym, and then 3 units that run the locker rooms. So it's 9 in total. Did I make that right? 4? Yeah, I think so. So that's kind of the area we're talking about. And then if you can see here on these pictures, it's this is actually a big picture of the gym, and that's the full picture of the high school. So these, have the laser on it? Yeah. So this is the area we're talking about on the high school. You have the gym, there's a little gym, our locker rooms, and then of course this is the 4 units on the big gym. It's just blowing up there. So here we have 4 units. One of those units is completely not working. It is completely out. The rest of the units, the rest of the 3, we've struggled with. There's a compressor out basically on each one of them. So this is kind of the next thing that we need to really look at in updating. And since we do have some extra funds in our contingency, we can still run this under our ESCO contract. Put out, and they already put out for bid, so we have a rough idea of what it was going to cost. And then we can use some of our construction money that we have from the levy that left over because we came in pretty good. So some of those funds can help pay for some of these updates that we desperately probably need to start doing. So on the high school gym, this is rough estimates. These are not the complete bids. This is just an idea of what I'm telling the board. So next month I would come back with a little bit more concrete numbers for everybody. So those 4 units on the gym to buy and replace, they're going to be about $375,000. Of course, those are big units. So the 5 smaller units on the little gym and then the ones that run the locker rooms, to do those would be about $270,000. And then I would suggest, or then also on the ESCO contract, I would suggest that we add or recommend MIS to our operating system, to our management system. It is $51,000 to add that building, but I will say since April in the district, we have about April to last month, we have about $34,000 in energy savings so far. So it's really, it's helped out, it's starting to catch up, and that's the whole point to doing the operating system. So in total, this project would be $696,000. That is all of them. We can decide just to do the 4 on the gym. We can decide to do it all. That's kind of some discussions that we need to have. With the $120,000 in contingency money that's just still sitting there with Navitas, it would be about $576,000 out of our levy money. So as Mr. Pettit and myself work through some of this in the next couple of weeks to see where the rest of our construction funds sit next month, I'll have a really good idea on what we can do and what to propose. So eventually they're going to have to be replaced. So it just depends if we want to do it now or do it later. The one thing with doing it all in one is if we do the 4 units now on the high school and then come back, I don't know, 2-3 years to do the other units if they last that long, it's going to be a higher price, not only because of just things are going up, but this is all calculated by doing all the units and having the crane there one day, having your people there one day. You know, crane rentals are expensive. You bring that crane back twice, it costs. So something to think about, just some information for you all, and then I'll have some more concrete numbers for you next month. Last thing I kind of want to talk about is the Tom Butterfield roof right down here, right down the hallway. We do need to address that. It does have some leaks, the metal roof and skylights and everything else. So went out and I did the same thing. I got bids on that too, and they vary anywhere from $16,000 to $98,000. So I got quite a big variance there. And probably the reason I didn't send out a specific RFP, because a lot of times I ask for an RFP and then somebody will give me an RFP, but it is so specific to a company where it's, you know, I'd like to come back and have people come back and say, this is what I would do for your gym. But what I'm going to suggest is if we do go with DeNovo on Beaker, I know he'll just give me the advice of, okay, this is what we should do on Beaker, this is what you should do on Tom Butterfield, and then we can kind of go that route. So I'm just giving you the numbers for that. And again, if we do the facility assessments and then look at the Beaker roof, I would try to put this all into one project with roofers.
15-year warranties, are they using the same materials?
No, it's not the same materials. No.
Okay.
So when you talk about like the bucket roof, so I'm sure one's bidding like the sealant, and then they're going to go up there and roll on.
Is that gravel coating type stuff?
It's not gravel coating. It's just, I would have to show you. It's just like a sealant, and then the other one's probably bringing in.
But there's $70,000 difference
Yeah.
in the 15-year warranty.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
So
What's that? Yes.
Yeah, they do it.
Yep.
which is 20 years. Well, you do the 20-year warranty for.
That's why it would be nice to have somebody look at that does a lot of roofs and say,
this is what
what we should really do here. And that's kind of the point. Because I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you. I'm not a roofing expert. I'm not. So there's a lot of different products out there, a lot of different people putting on roofs, and a lot of different prices. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, let's step back. Let's get somebody to come help us, give us a little suggestion, and then move forward from there. So, this is kind of what next month, this is going to be my recommendations. I think we start and then we go ahead and proceed with a facility assessment on Beaker. Like I said, it's going to be about $8,500. Let him help us go through that building and develop a good plan. And then also that will help us answer some of these roofing questions and a little bit of roofing quotes, so we can have a good direction on that. Also the Tom Butterfield gym roof. And then when I get some better numbers and go through the Navitas for the units at the high school, I will bring back that for approval. That's what I have. Anybody have any questions?
That's overwhelming.
Sorry, Harry.
Don't worry, Harry, we won't be able to afford all that anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice job.
He does, he really does.
Made Laura's report sound a lot better than just looking at your numbers.
You're not in the dark.
All right, guys, I'm going to kind of jump in. I know we're going a little long tonight. I'll say why we're getting that up. The MSIP review for Marshall Public Schools is up soon, so a lot of these things we're covering tonight, I just want to state the correlation to what we're talking about and what our MSIP says that we are doing with regard to teaching and learning. And both Laura's report and the instructional coaches and mine will cover a lot of that. And then I'm also going to be honest, I'm going to try to make this fun and interactive. We have a few housekeeping matters we're going to discuss tonight, and some of it's going to be a buzzword in my brain for the last 2 weeks has been culture. So with that said, leave the clicker up there. So with that said, we'll jump in. Could you hit the first slide for me, Wesley? So just some housekeeping stuff starting here with homecoming, and I'm going to kind of preface some of this with, we did have homecoming. We had a very big win, which was really fun, really exciting, and that was a great highlight of the evening. We had a really big and well-attended parade that day, but I want to discuss a few things about that, and I do not have all the details, but there's pros and cons here, I'll be honest with you. On the big win, that was great. We did end up having a public announcement Saturday morning in relation to Friday evening, because we did have safety concerns. I'm not going to say anything that I haven't put in that public statement tonight, but the long and the short is that as a school district and a community, there's been safety concerns going on around us, and we've had to make some changes that will take place for our next and possibly last home game against Chillicothe in 2 weeks. So that has been communicated, that we're going to have less loitering. We're going to ask parents to please and thank you, cooperate with the fact that we need to do that to make sure we're keeping everybody safe. But I think the most important thing I want to say to summarize that event is that we do believe that these safety issues have been isolated, have been contained, and have been addressed. So I've had some questions like, are we going to make scathing changes to our practices? We don't see that or anticipate that need, because we believe these things were isolated and have been contained. With regard to our parade, I don't have a lot of information as much as I'd like to have. There was a few questions I haven't had answered yet with regard to what the questions floating out there are. We had a really big parade, a little bigger than I think the last year for sure, maybe the last two, with several floats. Now, as I was watching the parade go by, there was a large gap that happened pretty quick around the band, and I thought, whoa, is that the whole parade? And then there was a long, long parade to follow. But one of the floats in there has gotten a little attention. I've had some phone calls and emails, and I think some people may be watching at home with curiosity about whether we'll discuss this. And so in lieu of calling a couple people back, I just want to say we do have a student organization, Turning Point USA in the district. We do have other student organization opportunities, and I am not sure all the answers. I've asked the questions, I'm waiting on the answers. What is our protocol, our processes, our procedures? What does our handbook say? I've asked for a review of some of those things because some community members want to know, but I don't have all those answers tonight, and I can get those if the community is asking. The board or anybody else will talk about it. But the reason I want to talk about safety and protocols and culture, and the reason culture has been a topic on my brain the last couple weeks, as a board in the last 4 years, we've talked about things about when you're running bonds, when you're running levies, when you're trying to make changes in a community, you know, those are culture things, the school culture that you have. And I was thinking of all these books the last couple of weeks. I've been trying to find, I've asked my administrative team some questions, and I've said I'm going to have some conversations with them. And I'm trying to find these books I read back in college that I can't find all the details. And this Strobel Education is not any of those things that I wrote all those papers on back in college. But it emphasizes positive school culture, and it talks about that culture is cultivated. It is not created. The superintendent or the Board of Education, we can talk about what seeds we're planting, what things we want for our school district. But it's a collective effort, and it will live or die based on whether everybody gets together and behind what it is that we're cultivating. And so to any community members that are concerned about anything, I would just say, hey, we're doing all the things that we would want you to do, and I hope you can trust that we're doing it as your school district. But we do, as Marshall Public Schools, have this shared mission and vision that we talk about all the time. That's why we have this long board report tonight about our MSIP. And most certainly, we care about respect and inclusivity. And in saying that we care about that, it would mean that, by contrast, we do not tolerate the opposite, right, of disrespect or exclusivity. And there's all these things going on politically in the world, and we have tried very hard to not be divisive. At the end of the day, what Laura Jacoby and what our principals talked about is why we're here, but we spend a lot of time on other stuff. So I just hope we can continue to have a lot of positive trust, and remember that we are not, Marshall Public Schools doesn't create this culture. It's our community, our principals, our teachers, our students, and our families, and we're doing the best we can. With regard to what gets in our parades, what's in our floats, it's student-led, it's about student learning, it's about student outcomes, and we try really hard to protect their freedom to learn, their freedom to think, and the conclusions that they have, not being what we tell them to be, but how to think and get to that conclusion through all the processes and learning. So I'm going to say some of that. I'm going to reference this cultivating, not creating culture. And then I'm going to jump all over the place like a pinball to try to keep your interest because it's getting late and you don't want to fall asleep. I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so here's some real estate updates. And MSDC now owns Northwest School. They're hoping to start a child care center there. I saw that KMMO covered a news story on that hopeful potential this week. And MPS now owns 2 lots that MSDC previously owned. So we could build on those lots, we could sell those lots. That'll be a discussion for our winter real estate topics that never end in Marshall Public Schools. Eastwood teardown is complete. You might recall back when Mayor Lutterby and I were out under the gazebo at the Northeast campus. We in that process, we acquired the 123-acre campus out there. We're now ready to talk to the city about completing the other part of it, which is where we exchanged the land that was formerly Eastwood over to the city. And I spoke to Mayor Craig Thompson today, interim Mayor Craig Thompson today, and he was sending JD out. They were going to do a walkthrough, and I think they're ready to get that ball rolling, which will wrap up some more of our real estate stuff. And you guys stop me if you want, but I'm going to go fast. Now, per our MSIP, again, and our CSIP, we are going to talk about finances. I'm not going to read every piece of this to you, but I'm just going to tell you for our quarterly update, our fund balance actuals as of June 30th of this past summer was 32%. That was the end of our fiscal year, and we created a budget that projected that we would deficit spend that to 27%. Our current deficit right now, 1.6 million officially, and in every way that I see it in October of 2025, we will have $1 million of this still potentially, but I'm really working hard with everybody in the finance team, Grace Durham and our accounts payable folks. They're doing a lot of work to try and really get tight numbers. We're still really hoping that we're going to have a barely balanced budget at the end of this year, we hope. And we're hoping to realize that in part through the savings from the schools we've closed, but you can't predict what you don't know. We haven't had that new school open or those old schools closed before this year. So we do still have, in short, a $1.6 million budget deficit at this time. Thinking back to Beaker and a little bit of leftover construction money, there's not a lot, some more of that one-time money. We're going to want to land some things that are important and think about what our 5-year priorities are. You can't see that, and I couldn't make it any bigger. That's just your revenue. And year to date, it looks like we're outpacing our budgeted anticipated revenue a little bit. So it either means things like delinquent taxes are all getting paid really early, a year late, but really early for what we anticipated, or we may end up a little long on revenue. So that offers a little more hope to that $1.6 million not being such a large deficit. Okay, changing gears if there's no questions about financials.
We also haven't seen what the senior tax credit is going to finish off within the county yet.
We have not. We have a whole lot of reasons to be a little concerned about getting flush. We're just hoping. It's not a promise, but a hope. So let's talk about our district attendance. Again, very quickly, overall as a district at this moment this year, I feel safe to talk about it now. You got to kind of wait until things shake out at the start of a new school year. But we're down a little bit, and yet we're higher than we were in 22. We're higher than we were in the prior 3 years to 22. But we've dropped back down a little bit. I was analyzing those numbers again. Thank you to Grace Durham and our accounts payable department for putting these graphics together. But I was trying to look through those and say why. Biggest answer I can give you to that is high school enrollment's up a lot. We are getting more and more kids, it seems like, from the surrounding districts than we were getting prior to COVID, but our elementary grades are getting smaller, and that's the trend we've been seeing. So will this continue? Remains to be seen. Now, that's how many students are enrolled that should be in school for the next few days. This is the shock and awe part of my presentation, I hope, tonight. And that is, where is our attendance in terms of how often do our students come? There's been a lot of conversations. Our social work team's been integral in this with what's going on with the kiddos that aren't coming to school. And I'm just going to start by saying Marshall Public Schools doesn't choose to penalize, punish, or be rude or anything else to families for kids not coming. However, there is a state law that says students under a certain age are required to be at school, and parents have an obligation to get them there. I'm going to give you 3 fast statistics. So these kiddos that I'm telling you about, these numbers are not cumulative. You can't add them together. You're getting a double shot of these statistics. Some of them are the same kids. So looking at last year, when we looked at the end of the year, and this is missing a few pieces of this information, but when you look at how many kiddos missed 10 days, 10 total days of school was missed, 669. How many kiddos missed 12 days? That would be 491. That's 5,892 absences, unless I can't do math at all, which is possible. And how many students were gone 14 days last school year? Again, missing some data. 374 students at Marshall Public Schools missed 14 days of school. And when we're giving you these statistics, what should really concern you, and I'm talking on the right side of the screen here, is we do not count students with chronic illnesses. You know, I have asthma, I have a disease, I have something going on. We're not counting students who have had losses in their family, you know, a death in the family and extenuating circumstances. We are not counting for the first 10 days, we're not counting students whose parents call and verify. And starting this year, not what you see in those numbers, but starting this year, the state changed the rules that it won't be counting those students who are suspended. So when we say that you have missed that much school, when our community thinks that maybe the school is being a bit rude, and sending these letters and making these phone calls and sending people to their house. 374 students at Marshall Schools last year that did not have any extenuating circumstance whatsoever, did not even have a parent make a phone call to say why they were not here, and they were not probably over the age of 16 years old. So as a community member first and an educator second, where are all these children and why aren't they at school? That isn't being rude, that isn't being mean, that should be a community concern. And we have some problems with that. And I'm encouraged to tell you that we are soon to begin, it looks hopeful, a truancy court in Saline County. And we had this in Jackson County when I taught there many years ago, and I thank our social work team and a lot of their community partners for bringing this to a head to be possible. But the 15th Judicial Court, with Judge Harvey presiding as it looks right now, is getting ready to start holding these courts at school, and parents and students will attend there. And that the conversation is going to be, and frankly, it should be, parents, why isn't your kindergartner at school, and why didn't you call us? Why isn't your 16-year-old at school, and where are they if they aren't? And what's their future going to look like if we don't care? And that's a frank, honest, and necessary question. So I'm really excited to see this being discussed. It's going to offer some accountability to the parents of the students as well as the students. For my short time in elementary, and I'm grateful to those who do that elementary job because it's kind of sad, but when a 6-year-old doesn't come in until 10 a.m. every day, whose fault is that? It's not the 6-year-old. They couldn't drive themselves there. So our district's required by the state to track this attendance, and students are required by law to attend school until the age of 16 in the state of Missouri. I'm really hopeful that our city municipalities and the prosecuting attorneys I've spoken to and some of our city council, and we're all still getting calibrated here, and I hope getting on the same page, same for Division of Family Services, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes they come at us and say, school district, why are you being so mean? Why are you saying all this stuff? They've got hardships, and they do, no question about that. But if nobody knows where they are, that should be concerning to us all. And frankly, it's not only a failure at home, but it's probably a failure of some of those extenuating services that are supposed to help these families, most of all, I would say, get to school, get fed, be safe. So not a great feel-good, but a really positive possibility here that we're going to start getting our judicial system familiar with these families, because I'm not talking about the 20 absences plus, but in the district, what I didn't share is if you have children that have 20 plus unverified absences at the end of the year, which we did, you start talking about maybe 12 families with multiple children in the same household. And I think that we're getting ready to finally start working together well between the school, the city, and the judicial system. And we should, or they should change the law. Do we require them to be at school, or do we not? Because nobody's been helping up until this point, and I think this looks really promising. Going to shift again. Are you guys ready for something different, or any questions about that? So while it feels like we're taking care of housekeeping and maybe on a soapbox a little bit, staff attendance, and there are certainly, I want to start with, there are extenuating circumstances. Similarly, when there's death in a family, when there's illness, when there's various things, we're understanding of that. So I'm going to give you some numbers. And not all of these numbers do I know all the details, but everything on the very bottom bullet point on the left, I am certain is not professional development, is not bereavement, is not an extenuating circumstance. But I'll start first, top left. Past Monday at SPS, because I happened to speak to Mrs. Alberson, because I was looking for subs to help another building, I know that there was, I believe, 11 absences in that building on Monday morning. MHS had 4 absences at least that day. I didn't confirm the total, but 3 of them happened after 6:42 a.m., so that's not a lot of time to figure out. Now, I know the Chiefs did have a heck of a game Sunday night, and that resonates with me as a Chiefs fan, but, you know, we need our kids here, we need our teachers here too. We have 5 full-time staffs now in Marshall Public Schools, and we never have enough subs. Those 5 full-time subs are always busy. When I can look at 17 employees in our district, and I'm not picking on them either, I think this is one of those, I'm gonna plant a seed here. How it grows and whether it lives is gonna be up to a lot of people, right down to the teachers, the principals, et cetera. But if 17 people, and this is till the end of September, August wasn't a full month of school, September, that's all I've got here. 91 absences from 17 employees. What's going on with the teaching and learning in that classroom, you know, and what's going on with that teacher? That's going to start being a conversation we have to have. And I know I probably sound like a grumpy old dad or something, because I am both those things. But we can't have 17 employees be gone 91 times in the first 2 months of school and not take issue with that. And yet, we will always respect that education is a safe place for parents and families first, and we give all the allowances we can for that. Again, that is not that statistic right there. We have a board policy, GBCBC. It references absences of staff, and it goes into a lot of things that should be intuitive, and I won't read it all. But at the end of the day, if we want our kids to come to school, we need to lead by example. We need our teachers to come to school. They know if their teacher's been gone 9 times already. And again, by the end of September. That is not something we can continue to tolerate, to not deal with. And a lot of times, I think when you talk about culture and planting seeds and cultivating seeds, you know, what you allow, it builds that culture as much as what you do not allow. And we can't allow that. We're never going to improve student attendance if the role models in the building don't have good attendance either. And it's not good for morale. If our principals are all in the classroom all day long subbing, that isn't how the system's supposed to work. You're not going to get the results that you want. Any questions about any of that? I know I'm really chipper. Let's talk about something happy. Thank you, AI. Do you love my graphic? Grace did not make that one for me. I put that in ChatGPT. We have an MOU for a first reading tonight. We're not going to approve it, but have been speaking to Katie Trail for a few years now, have been dreaming and hoping for a walk-in clinic that was housed somewhere on Marshall Public Schools campus. And we now have a first draft MOU, a memorandum of understanding that would provide a walk-in clinic on district property to our employees and students as well as our community. I don't believe that we have a walk-in clinic, closest one's Sedalia, I do believe. Am I right? Okay, good, because I've been driving all the way to Sedalia if there was another one I needed to know. So we would hope for, if this can all come to fruition, that we would provide not only a location, but 2 rooms in that location, reception for that location, meaning somebody that would greet them, sit them down, and tell them where to go when it's time. And Katie Trails would provide the nurse practitioner. And the MOUs in your packets, we're not providing pay for the nurse practitioner, we're providing the location and the receptionist. So I'm really excited about this possibility. What an amazing thing for recruitment and retention. And when you have a $1.6 million deficit, anything that can recruit your teachers and maybe say, well, some of these other incentives that are more expensive, maybe this is something that people would really value. And if our attendance isn't great for staff, maybe over your plan time, if you're not subbing for somebody else that's gone, you can run to the walk-in clinic over your plan, make that appointment, you know, at school. I had that again in Jackson County as a teacher myself, and it was amazing. I never went anywhere else. I'm going to just keep shifting gears here. Surplus. Finally have the final list in your board packet. This is specific to our summer surplus sale, the stuff that came out of our closed schools, $66,985. And I think I'm going to go into used car sales because I've frankly enjoyed it a lot, doing all of this. But we worked hard to get it all sold. We're really down to bare bones now, and I truly kind of enjoyed it. It was something very different, and different pace to have all that surplus. 10 schools received items through our sales in Missouri and Kansas, and a lot of things went to good places. A few things were donated, and we still have a few things that we think we might need in the future. And we're out of our storage unit end of November, which is perfect because we're going to just barely, by the skin of our teeth, have somewhere to take what's left in storage, we hope, by then. So, mileage, money, budgets. I've been everywhere tonight, really checking everything off our MSIP too. But we just sold one of our first vehicles. In the last 4 years, this board has been allowing us to buy vehicles, and we have replaced mileage for administrators and teachers and various people going to professional development because it was starting to get really expensive and the IRS rate was climbing so quickly. That IRS rate is now 70 cents per mile. But this car that I sold, it's the first one that we bought, we sold, we knew every cost along the way for this vehicle, and it went a lot of miles, more than most of them do. This vehicle had 25,000 miles in 2 years in the district. We bought it for $6,000 from government surplus, put around $2,000 in it, and then we sold the car for $6,500. Our cost plus fuel is listed there. Yada, yada, fast forward here. If I even take right down to the gasoline that went in the car, that car saved us $12,500 over paying mileage. And while I would love to give more money to all of our administrators, our teachers, and everybody, we just simply can't afford to pay 70 cents a mile. This is really working out pretty well. We're now starting to tighten some of our practices with fuel, where the fuel's going, who's using it. And that's going to be a learning curve, but I think just tracking it a little tighter, it'll help us learn to be more efficient. And I think that's the way to keep going. Though I'll be honest, I intend to share that so that I can come to you later and ask for better cars, more expensive cars that the staff will like driving more. Because all the cars that we've sold have not been, after the people bought them all, we did have a couple complaints about some of the cars, which ironically I thought, well, the people who bought them had a couple complaints. The teachers who drove them for the last several years had a couple of complaints. Maybe it's time to raise the bar. We can prove that it's saving us money. Any questions about that? Smart car, maybe? I don't know right now. We've talked about this. I've given some soft numbers to you guys last month. I'm going to hit you up on this one more time, but we're not voting yet. Went to Chris Bethel today with some specs on specific tractors that I shared with the board tonight. The long and the short, the district used to pay for lawn care. We took it in-house because it was getting expensive. I think we were paying about $60,000 a year, and our contract was up, and we were expecting a big increase. So we mowed ourselves for 2 summers. We bought all of our equipment, and our savings to date at the end of our second summer is $58,000. In all honesty, I wouldn't say that any of us feel satisfied with where our campuses are in terms of their landscaping, tree trimming, bush trimming, spraying, weed eating, edging, etc. We just frankly have kept up with the mowing as best we could, and that would be to say just barely. It's been a learning curve, but I think it's time and justifiable to invest in some more infrastructure and get something like this that can mow 14 feet wide. That could mow all of our wide open spaces in an 8-hour day is our calculation based on the specs that we got. And if we continue to save at least 60, and like Chris Bethel was saying today, calculate that at a new cost, you're probably saving 80 to 100,000 a year to do it yourself. That tractor would pay for itself every year for what you didn't pay in contracting it out. But we do need our campuses to look better. We are proud of what we have. We've worked hard to improve it. And I think this would be something that would just take it up another notch. It also would have a loader, and we have a lot of parking lot on that northeast campus, and we're not going to be able to push it from one end to the other. We're going to have to load it and move it. And we only have one skid loader. So it would also help us with snow removal. Any questions about that? I'm trying to keep a variety show for you here so it's not too boring. I know I'm going a little long, but I'm almost done. In fact, I am done. If there's no other questions, we will get to the very short business of actual motions. There isn't too much.
Waiting for a road project or something to come out of that.
That's it, man.
Old business, the first thing we have under old business is Northwest School. I believe that is just to go over what Mr. Pettit just talked about in his report, is that has been sold, traded, however you wish to see it, to MSDC for the 2 lots, and they are hoping to build a child care facility there. Is there anything else anybody wants to add to that? All right. First reading, so Mr. Pettit also went over the first reading of the health clinic MOU with Katy Trail. That's something that I believe Mr. Pettit and I 2 years ago went and met with Katy Trail to talk about at that time. And over the last couple of years, there have been some strides, and we are now looking to see that come to fruition and to have another resource for teachers, staff within our district, as well as another recruitment tool that I'm sure Ms. Reno will appreciate being able to put on the website to say, please come work here in Marshall. So, first reading for long-range BMS facility plan, CSIP Goal 2. That information was in your packet as well as Mr. Rinke went over the cost of around $8,500 to have a consultant come in and kind of outlay our layout, I guess, what we need to do in that building. And then there was a first reading for the continued Navitas HVAC improvements at the high school. Of course, we partnered with Navitas and working on energy consumption. We did a lot of work at the Career Center with that, as well as the high school and some of our other buildings as well, Spainhour as well, to look at energy savings across the district. New business, bus routes for the fall. There are 32 bus routes that we need to approve that were in your packets as well. Does not mean we're running them, does not mean we design them. It just means that we approve that transportation and that we realize that that's what's going on and that we're using our buses in that manner.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions about the bus routes? All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? We need to approve surplus as it was outlined as well. It sounds like it's been moved and seconded by Mr. Carroll and Mr. Smith. Looks like we're going to ratify that at just short of $67,000 at $66,985.52. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Too late, we already sold it? No, I'm sorry, but no, it's gone. We've been on track of that for a while. And our financial quarterly report, which we were shown today and also was included in our packet, there's no motion on that, but just to look at our fiduciary duty of fiscal responsibility, of course, within the district and looking at our budgeting as we go across. I can tell you through the state boards and organizations I sit on, having something north of 20% in your reserves is right now something a lot of districts cannot boast about or be bragging about. The fact that we were over 30% even at the beginning of the year was astounding. There are a lot of districts who are actually borrowing money to pay staff now, and I don't know how that's going to work out. And as they change base teacher pay, it is only going to get grimmer for some of the smaller districts. So,
Well said.
all right. If there's nothing else, then I will seek a motion for us to move from open to closed session to look at hiring, firing, disciplining, individual identifiable personnel records, records protected by disclosure of law, and also privacy issues.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded.
You tried, Angela.
We will have Ms. Staley on the second with that.
No, it was Angela.
Thank you for deferring. So, Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Wentz? Ms. Staley? Aye. Mr. Shepherd? Aye. Aye. We'll be moving to closed session.